things today. Okay? Two things. And I'll tell you the first thing I want to talk about, I at first disagreed. Okay? But the more I studied it, the more I agreed. Okay? Let me draw this graph. So, it goes off of what we talked about earlier today. Alright. This is this graph, okay? On a scale of bad to good, and on a scale of consistent and not consistent. So no consistency, okay, and consistency. Okay, I know the writing sucks, but whatever. Then bad to good, okay? Alright, when I first saw this graph, I completely disagreed with it, okay? At first I was like, no, that's bullshit. But the more I studied it, the more I'm like, you know what? That makes more sense, okay? Here's what the graph is. Let me ask this question. Do you think I love getting on you to have to put effort? Who thinks I like it? Nobody, right? Okay, good. Because I don't, right? Do you think it's only about working out and basketball? Who thinks it's only about working out and basketball? Right? What is it about? Anybody? Okay, get better every day, whatever. What do you say? Life. Okay? There's a game that's a lot bigger than the game of basketball. We love the game of basketball, and we want you to do really well in the game of basketball. And we're going to do everything we can to get you there. The game of life is big. Okay? How many of y'all are in a relationship? Okay? How many of y'all have kids? Okay? I know some of y'all do, right? Is being a father, that's something that's important, right? When you guys do this, what we don't want is this. I'm going to do it in red for it to make sense. What we don't want is this. We don't want our days, some days to be really high, some days to be really low, some days to be really high, some days to be really low. What would you consider that? Would you consider that consistent or inconsistent? Okay, if you are an inconsistent father, do you think you have a great relationship with the kids? Sometimes, potentially. If you're inconsistent with your relationship, sometimes you talk to her, sometimes you don't. Do you think you'll have a good relationship? No. Probably not. Right? Probably not. Right? What we want to do is tighten where we're at, turn our consistency up so it looks something more like this. This is considered being consistently good. Now you're going to have some days where you're not very good, right? Just like everybody, because you're human. There's days that I'm not very good, right? But if your variance or the degree in which you're not very good compared to the degree in which you are good is small, that difference isn't as noticeable, right? And people are willing to say, I get it, you're having a bad day, let's come back tomorrow and try again, right? Is that fair? You guys all probably give that grace to people, right? And me too, right? But when it's so high and so low, what do people then ask? Or what do they say? What's going on? Or who are we going to get today? Right? How many of you have heard that about a team? What team is going to show up today? Right? That's because their inconsistency in the level of variance and their good or bad is off. Right? Like today, okay, we came in, it wasn't so good, which I understand we're going to have some good days and bad days. I get that. I get that, right? But what we need to do is try and change our level of variance in being rather consistent or rather inconsistent, right? The more we can get to this, and if I said this was perfect, it'd be a perfect line right across there, the more that we can make progress consistently, right? Like, I'll tell you, yesterday, I didn't want to come into work at all. I was like, fuck it, I ain't going. I didn't want to get up at 5 a.m. I didn't want to come in at all. At all. I didn't want to work out yesterday either. I did it. I got here. Did anybody notice a difference in me yesterday? Was I, like, could you tell that I was off? Anybody? No. I'm a little bit, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. Right? But if I came in with a hoodie on, I was like, oh, fucking talk to me, dog. Would you know something was up? Right? Okay? This is bigger than basketball. It's bigger than training. I just use these tools to help you understand life. That's it. This is a game of life. This is a game of fatherhood. This is a game of being a husband. This ain't even freaking about basketball. This ain't even freaking about weightlifting and training or anything like that. This is about life. It's about life. Right? There's an expectation of me from the people that hired me to perform every single day. Now, when my performance isn't matching their expectation, guess what happens to me? I'm gone, right? Right? When you sign a 10-day contract with the NBA and they have a certain expectation of you, and your performance doesn't match their expectations, what happens to you? You're gone. They might not even let you have 10 days, right? They might say, cool, day 2, deuces. You know what I'm saying? That kind of makes sense to everybody? I don't like having to yell. I don't like that shit. I want to come in, get y'all fired up, let's fucking rock. Like yesterday, my child was go. We had a fun time yesterday. Right? Let's get our consistency better, because if it's gonna show here and it shows at practice, guess where it's really gonna show? On the court when we're fucking playing. Does that make sense to everybody? Alright, does that make sense to everybody? This is not a game about weightlifting or about training, like none of that bullshit. This is a game about life. This is a game about who you are. This is a game about what type of husband are you, what type of father are you, how are you gonna do that? Because in our world, what are we measured off of? Wins and losses. That's what we're measured off of, right? 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 I heard this the other day and I thought it was amazing. When you are in a relationship, a marriage, do you win at being in a marriage?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah.
How?
Happy wife, happy life.
Okay, happy wife, happy life. What's the point of being married? Like, besides not super deep, but just what's the goal of being married? Is it to stay married or to get divorced? To stay married. So do you win at it? How do you win at staying married? By staying married, right? You win at staying married by staying married. Does that make sense? So it's this circle, right? Okay? We are measured on these. In life, you're measured on how do you keep a job? By doing the things that keep you to have a job. How do you stay married? By doing the things that keep you staying married, right? How do you continue being a good father? By doing the things that keep you being a good father, which means you have to be consistent. There's not one thing you can do that's like, boom, now all of a sudden, like, my marriage is great for 20 years, right? Right? That's not how that works. That's not how that game works. It's not one thing you can do that, boom, now I get a job for the rest of my life, right? You have to continue to do the things in order to keep playing that game. That game of continuing a business if you're going to own a business. That game of keeping a job if you're going to have a job. That game of staying married if you're going to continue to be in a relationship. That game of being a good father. You have to do those things consistently in order to have that, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? So I want you to understand the game you got to keep playing in a good way, right? And I don't mean the game as being manipulative. I mean the game as in continuing to do the things that got you, right? Same thing with us here. In order to raise our expectation, who wants to win a SWAC championship this year? All right, good. So then you have to ask yourself, what do we need to do every day to win the SWAC championship, right? Kobe said he never lost a game, but he only ran out of time, right? We don't have that much more time left before we're in season. When we're in season, some of y'all don't have that much more time left playing the game that you love. Some of y'all don't have that much more time left. Fall in love with the process. Be a student of the game. Do what's required to continue playing the game. Keep doing that. Fall in love with that. This will come if you fall in love with this. If we do this better. That makes sense, everybody? Be a student of the game. Yesterday we said details. Ask about, I make a bad pass. Ask why you made that bad pass. What do you need to do better? What small things do you need to do better? Have the coaches coach more. That makes sense, everybody? But if you do this, like this, we can't expect that many of you. Does that make sense to everybody? Fall in love with the process of doing what's required every day. It gets boring, it gets repetitive, it gets all of this stuff. But fall in love with that. That makes sense to everybody? Good? We good? We good? All right, let's go to break practice. Let's get a break. Put the benches back. Let's get a break. Let's have a great practice today, okay? Finish this week strong. Finish this week strong, okay?
It's all hit.
Finish this week strong.
Love on 3, family on 6. 1, 2, 3. Love on 5, 6.